So a lot of what we're talking about has been inspired by a lot of people. John Gray, Alison Armstrong, Dr. John Lund, a lot of folks. I want to point out that there's a lot of ways to a man's heart, a lot of ways to a woman's heart, and these are just a few. So try on different ideas, see how they feel for you. Note also that differences between men and women are very subtle, but very significant. Also notice that as you pursue relationships in your life, that some of the things I'll talk about tonight are backwards. So in other words, what I talk about for a woman may actually apply in your situation more to the man in your relationship, and vice versa. This is just really general, in other words, that some of the differences I'm going to point out. But they're fun to kind of assign to one sex or the other. And there's a lot of research in what I'm going to talk about. So it's not that those differences don't exist, but they're a lot more subtle. So there's a way, and that's the part one, or I guess kind of the preface for this seminar, is that relationships really feel like a brick wall at sometimes. Like you think, how can I possibly make sense of this? It just feels like the whole thing is like a car that just ran out of gas. Anybody ever, don't raise your hand if that's true for you, but raise it in your mind. So I want you to know that it is easy, like T.D. Jakes once said, to be rowing through the river and the lake of your relationship, and as he said, especially for a woman at times, to be able to refrain from saying, I would rather jump out of this boat than row one more half a mile with you. I'd rather jump out. And what Dr. Harville Hendricks suggests is, using the boat image again, is that the power of your transcendence has to do with not jumping out. Stay in the boat. In other words, what you want is not out of the water or out of the boat, but what you want is on the water, in the boat. So I'm going to start off with a song here. Everybody that gives seminars, I believe, should be able to break out into song. Life is a musical, right? The water is wide, I can't cross over, neither have I wings to fly. Build me a boat that can carry two. We both shall row, my love and I. Our love shines clear against the storm, turns darkest night to brightest day, and troubled seas to a perfect calm, a blazing lamp to light our way. Thank you. So part one is kind of some pieces of the puzzle. So a man's goal, when it comes to differences, is success and the affluence that brings. That's what he wants. He wants to leave his mark on the world. A woman's goal is security and the love and connection that security makes possible. It's not just the security, it's the connection, the love. A man's processing is outside in, external validation, hugs, food, adventure, thriving self-image, cuddling, kisses. That's me on the left there, on the left picture. And interesting research shows that turns out men are more moved and more in need of cuddling and hugs and kissing than women. Now, you wouldn't have thought that, would you? Because they put on a pretty good front, right? But they do. And food, I mean, the way to a man's heart is food. My wife, when she makes me something to eat, I'll say, I will do anything you want. Why? Because it's not just about the food, it's about it. She made me food. She's reaching me from the outside in. Whereas a woman's orientation is more inside out, internal, validation, understanding, making her feel safe, supporting her. The candlelight dinners, the love letters, the roses, big thing. Any of you women like to get roses? Raise your hand if you do. Okay. And any of you women receive roses at least once a month? Okay, good. One. That's good. I am so glad I'm here tonight. You better take notice. All right. So, big difference. A man's archetype. Now, what's an archetype? It means kind of a hidden, historic identity transcending generations. It's a Jungian theory. But a man's hidden archetype is Superman. He's always on a mission, providing, rescuing, hero. Even if it's just getting that praise for fixing the dishwasher, reaches his archetype identity. A woman's archetypal identity is mother, nurture, the reigning queen, filling your home with beauty, connection, celebrating your home and family. So what's interesting is that the queen reigns in the castle. She's ministering and connecting people and filling your home with beauty. You see signs all over your home. Live, laugh, love. Who has at least 10 or 20 of those signs in your home? Everywhere. You go to bed at night. Look, there it is. Because that's what they're doing. They're filling. It's no wonder that we use the expression Mother Earth or Mother Nature. We associate mother with filling the earth. Whereas a man, if he was to make a sign like this, it would look more like this, because he's interested in getting out of the house. She's interested in filling it, but on Saturdays he wants to join his other superhero friends and kind of repair their psyches for the next mission. And that takes place when they're hunting, usually, or fishing. So, number one need for a man, to feel appreciated, which makes him feel successful. What's his number one need? His goal is success. Number one way to a man's heart, to make him feel appreciated. Number one need of a woman is to feel cherished. Just like the little Princess Rose, that she is unique in all the world. That makes her feel safe. It's not just that she wants to be cherished and put up on a pedestal, which she ought to be, but that experience of feeling cherished makes her feel safe. Number one fear for a man, if you kind of go up the line there, you'll see the logical outcome of it, which is that he's afraid, deeply afraid, of disappointing loved ones. That is his ultimate failure, is to disappoint his loved ones. A woman's greatest fear is abandonment, or in other words, being left by you having an affair, or invalidating her feelings, or being angry. All of those paths lead to her feeling abandoned, which is her worst fear. Bottom line fear for a man: shame, failure, not enough. Write down those two words, not enough. If you want to understand what's going on with your man, that's what's going on with your man. That whole page boils down to those two words. If you want to understand what's going on with your woman, write down those two words: invalidated, invisible. The two words are not important. See the difference. Not enough for the man, not important for the woman. An interesting distinction in truly the heart and core of each of our fears, both sides. So let's take a look at the essence of each other. The healthy and wounded hidden archetypes. So the healthy and wounded female archetype starts with the reigning queen. She's ministering, she's connecting, she's loving everyone, she's going out into the kingdom with loaves of bread and feeding people, and she's just a star. She's like a light in the world. Now, if she doesn't get kind of what she needs in that marriage, then she derails to her first level of wounded archetype, which is the lost princess. And this is key, men. You want to get her as she's a lost princess, because her third ring of hidden archetypal identities is the is the nasty witch, and you don't want to let her get there. Stop her here. That's when she's just the lost princess. You can deal with that. You can deal with that. Once it gets here, it's all pretty much too late. Just stand back and just assess the damage when it's all over. But now a man's healthy identity, actually healthy, is Superman. You want to feed that. He's so himself. If he's on a mission, if he's rescuing, if he's fixing. But if things aren't going his way, you aren't appreciating him enough, he soon derails to super baby. You don't want that. You don't want that. But you can deal with that. What you can't deal with is when he gets to his third ring, which is frozen Superman. At the North Pole, completely out of inspiration, out of encouragement. He doesn't know what to do with himself. So this is a big thing. If you could remember those archetypes, especially that lost princess, don't ever forget that. So part 2 is solutions. Here's the first kind of paradigm to reach into some solutions, and it's embracing both ends of the stick. Now, when you pick up a stick, you can't just pick up one end of it. Is that true? Because if you pick up one end of a stick, you pick up what? The other end of the stick. Now, you say that now, but when it comes to your spouses, you're not really very enthusiastic about it. But in fact, you can't have what you want in a spouse unless you also get what you clearly do not want. And let's take a look at that. So focus on the objective, taking a look at the man's both ends of the stick. He's a get-her-done type of guy, against all odds, will climb any mountain. You love that in him. Right, women? You love that. But he misses the experience along the way. Now, a man goes to the Gap. He's going to go in there to buy a new pair of pants. It's going to be just a few minutes. But this is the journey for a woman right here. She enjoys every shop. Everything's just this visceral, beautiful exchange of energy between her and each of the items, whether she buys them or not. It's the experience for her. But for a man, it's a little bit more of the objective. He's on a mission. Get the pants. That's a wonderful difference. So a man, as we mentioned, revisiting a couple of these, drive for success, wants to leave his mark on the world and aspires to greatness for that reason. Unfortunately, because of that, he's easily shamed and defensive about failure. Anybody know a defensive man? Can you think of anybody? It's a good thing you didn't raise your hand. There would have been trouble after this meeting. Most of us are a little defensive. Why? Because we're really into making sure that we leave this wonderful mark on the world and that we did a great job. And if you tell us anything else, it's a problem. And we'll get into that a little bit more later. A man is in control of his feelings. He's a warrior, right? Can't be out on the field writing in his journal. he's got to be ready. You never know what's going to happen. But he's uncomfortable with feelings. That's the other side of the stick. Now, you like this side, don't you? But you don't like that side. I want you to look at both those sides, those 3 lines so far. I want you to notice the dissonance that you experience right now. Oh, I like that, but I don't know if I like that too much. I read a letter on the internet once that says, I don't have a strong emotional connection with my husband. He has a hard time expressing his emotions. We don't talk to each other much about our innermost feelings and thoughts and hopes and dreams. I've realized this is important to me, but he seems bewildered and doesn't know what I really want. Are my expectations too high? How can I help him understand what I need? Well, Anne, who writes from Dallas, has a really simple problem. She married a man. So, of course he's a warrior. He's not like you. A woman wants to feel. A man wants to not feel and to get to work on the solution. A woman wants to enjoy the problem, just soak it in and just swim in it a little bit. A man says, what are you swimming around in that for? It's a nightmare. Let me fix it. Don't. Just let me feel. I just want it coming in and out of every pore of my body. So a man enthusiastically charges into action. He's a warrior, but he retreats and rests. And so he's not completely present for you when he comes back from the last battle. He retreats from the battle and he rests. 2 opposites. His instinct to defend and protect is wonderful. Don't you feel protected? But on the other hand, a little scary and out of control at times. And so a man has to be careful about not turning out with some of his feelings. Now, you know what happened in The Lion King, right? You see the little lion there. Because when the jackal said, just to say the name Mufasa. Do you remember that? It was wonderful. Now, I want you to consider the fact that you have married, I'm going to just come out and see some of you women out here. You have married, there's a woman. Are you married? Yes. You have married, is he here? He's a man. And I want you to just kind of soak that in and just say to yourself, I'm so glad I'm married to a man. So I want you to just say with me right now, just say, man. And it feels good, doesn't it? Say it. Oh. By Mufasa. Yeah. Why are you resisting it? Why do you look at, if you take away all those things, right? What do you got? A woman. You want the man, right? Okay, all you women, I want you to say man at the count of 3. Ready? But say it down to your toes. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All you women, man. Oh. Quit trying to resist the one end of the stick. You married a man. It's a wonderful thing. Now let's look at on the other side of the issue. Women. Okay. She's soft and sensitive. Men, you love that. Is there a man here that does? Of course, you love that, right? But she's oversensitive. You don't like that. Well, which is it going to be? If you're going to have one, you're going to have the other, right? She's dreamy and romantic. She loves PG romantic comedies, right? Now, bear in mind, the research is really clear on this, and I'm not kidding. As she walks out of that theater with you, from that PG-13 comedy, she likes you less. Why is that? Because if she's dreamy and romantic, she's easily let down, right? And so, which is it going to be? You got to don't see too many of those movies. That's what Godzilla is a great movie. She's nurturing. She loves to heal and love people, but all that loving and serving, she's overwhelmed. She doesn't take care of herself sometimes. She's compassionate and caring. Others come first. But that leads to letting her own needs kind of slip away from her attention. And that creates some depression at times. Women are a little bit more depressed, not much, but they tend to be a little bit more easily depressed than a man. I think part of the reason is that on the other side, they're so much more compassionate and caring. So which is it going to be? Now, a woman sees the whole picture. She's actually I've done a lot of research on this, and there's different research that points to different things, but they're actually better at multitasking. That's a long story. I'll just leave it at that. But they can see the whole picture much better. But on the other side of that is they bunch, overlap, collect issues, then offload them all in one sitting. Why shouldn't they? Because for a woman, it's all at once, all throughout, all time, and all right now. There's no past, present, and future with a woman. There's only, you have always done this. I have affidavits proving it. And you will always do it. And you're doing it now. So, this is the same thing, men. I'm going to talk to a couple of you. Now, I know you married. You notice you're married to her? Woman. Aren't you glad? Because if you took away all that, what you'd have? A man. Yeah. Are you glad? Are you just so excited? This you're married to. Let's say it again. Woman. Oh, no, you men, on the count of three, I'm going to have you say woman when you're ready. 1, 2, down your toes, 3. Whoa. Oh. Stop resisting the other end of the stick. Okay. So let's talk about love languages. Now, number one, when it comes to love languages, you want to be just so thankful that this person even exists. This is the number one element of love language. That you're alive. I'm so thankful for that. I was talking to my friend in a McDonald's years ago, a friend of mine named Eric. And he was complaining about this or that with his wife and went from one thing to the next. I said, Eric, listen to me real closely. One day, you will be thankful that you had someone to complain about. One day. And until that day, Eric, every day is Christmas. Why? Because she's here with you. And he still runs into me once in a while and says, every day Christmas, John. Every day Christmas. It's really cute. But you think about dogs, for instance. You know, research shows that when a dog, a little puppy or a kitten comes into a room, that your blood pressure actually lowers. That's an actual known fact. If another human comes into the room, your blood pressure will raise. You're sitting in a room alone, another human comes in, it could be any human, and your blood pressure will raise the tiniest bit. But the minute that dog comes into the room, little puppy, right, your blood pressure lowers. Well, why is that? Because that dog is so thankful that you exist. That dog is out of his mind with hysterical joy over you. And he comes up to you and he's just celebrating. I see dogs on a walk, dog from 100 yards away. I've never seen the dog before. He's running up to me like I'm his best friend that he hasn't seen in years. He's just so excited. My blood pressure's coming down, and I'm feeling so good about myself. We can do that for our spouses. We can do that. Now, maybe not as much as a puppy, but we can celebrate their existence. When your man comes home, when your woman, and you were reunited after being apart for a while, honey, I'm so glad to see you. And I am so glad that you're in my life. Thank you. And celebrate. So the number one thing with love languages, number one, is you celebrate that person's existence. Now, let's talk about another thing that you can add to that, because that celebration doesn't look very good sometimes compared to other times. There's something attached to that slide. I'm not sure what it was, but do not have a baby like that. That's all. It's probably the message, yeah. So the other thing was this. Look, it's easy to have a bunch of things that you're upset about, right? And it's easy to have a bunch of needs that are deep in your heart. But what's tough is that when they're not expressed, when you're not articulating what you actually need. Carl Alfred Broderick, one of the most famous psychologists in history, noticed this himself when, after a few years of being married, him coming from a script, and they see the word script beneath the large orange juice and the lower orange juice, the little glass of orange juice. His script, or in other words, what was traditional in his family, which is what script means, was that when you were sick, your job was to go pull the covers up and moan and wait for the orange juice. And the orange juice would always come for Carl Alfred Broderick in his childhood. Gallons of it. One pitcher full after the next. Well, his wife's script, and he didn't notice this till years later, when they would get sick in their family, they would just bring maybe a little shot glass of orange juice. How she was raised. So he noticed that it just never was feeling right whenever he got sick. And he would say, honey, are we out of orange juice? Or, honey, is there more juice? Honey, will you bring some juice, please? Juice! And finally his wife sat down on the bed and said, you got to tell me what's up with you and the juice. And it was at that point that he realized, oh, I see. I've had kind of this script that's needed to be articulated, that I've needed to actually say to her, you know, whenever I get sick, honey, because I'm used to getting gallons of orange juice from my childhood, would you also bring me 10 gallons of orange juice? No problems. See, there's a big difference, isn't there, between an unspoken, sort of agitated, laced, request that you've never made, expecting someone to just kind of know what it is, and contrasted with saying it and requesting it. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Now, I'm showing you the most age-old secret to love that there is. And we're going to get a little deeper into this gender specific in a little while, but for right now, going both ways even, that when you can convert reasonable, unspoken expectations into requests. Now, what do I mean by reasonable? There's some things that you secretly harbor as far as requests that really shouldn't be requested. But don't request things that are crazy. But if it's a reasonable request, then articulate it and make it clear. So what's the two ways that we really master love language? We start with being thankful that person exists. And then we add to that our willingness to convert our hidden, unspoken expectations into articulated requests. So part 3 is this. The way to a man's heart specifically, and the way to a woman's heart more specifically. So we'll start with a man. So the first way to a man's heart is to let your light Let your womanly light shine. Now, what do I mean by that? Every woman is born into this world and created by God, beautiful and feminine and compassionate. Is that true? You look around the room, you see anybody that's not beautiful, feminine, and compassionate. They all are. It's the way you come. Doesn't matter what age you are. This woman is at least over 50, aren't you?
Yeah.
Now, let me just say that you are beautiful and feminine and compassionate. I know that about you. Anybody know this woman? You got to stand. You got to see this woman. Yeah. That woman shines. That's what when I say let your womanly light shine, that's what I'm talking about. So sometimes you hold that back. Sometimes you don't let that shine. Now, there's a reason for that. We're not going to get into it tonight. But notice that you don't do that sometimes. And what I'm going to suggest to you is that actually one of the ways to a man who's outside in, who's wired for making his mark in the world, that reaches him. Because the more you are his opposite, he's masculine, you're feminine. The more you're compassionate, nurturing, he's a protector and a provider, right? The more you're the opposite of him, the more you shine as a woman in every way you can, the more he feels like he is a man. So what that means is, in this wonderful formula, is that when you show up as pure woman, what that means to him is that he must be pure man. So one of the first and most noble ways to a man's heart is to show up. That's it. Just as you really are. And don't try to kind of hide behind the shadows. You come out in all of your glory as beautiful and feminine and compassionate. In whatever way that works for you. And it's different for everybody. So the next way to a man's heart, and there's only 2 ways to a man's heart, by the way, and there's 6 ways to a woman's heart. So you can see it's a different picture. But the next way to a man's heart is to help him to see that he is a success. And especially with you. That's how he measures his success. If you're happy, right? So you tell him, I am so happy. You know, and if you're not completely happy, then we'll talk about that later, but to whatever degree you are happy, let him know, share with him, right? Now, one of the things that makes this so difficult is that a man's prime directive, what he is born with, is a mission hardwired into his DNA to make you happy. That's his mission. But the problem is, he's not that good at it. Now, if you're married to a woman, she gets it. She knows what you're feeling, why you're feeling it. She knows what you need, when you need it. The man has no clue whatsoever on any of those things by his nature, right? So you call that a prime directive paradox, meaning that that was on a good day, meaning that we so want to get this right, we so want to make you happy, but we just lack the ability to put the picture together. Did you know that when a man, as a pedestrian, is crossing the street, his chances are 6 times as likely as a woman's to be hit by a car? Now, you think I'm kidding. How many people have you known get hit by a car lately? You ask them. No, I'm just kidding. You probably haven't known anybody. But that's actually a true research. Why is that? Because when a man gets to that stoplight, he is on a mission. I'm going to cross the street, I'm going to go get the pants, or I'm going to get a lunch break, or whatever it is. When a woman gets up to the stoplight, she's aware. It's a red light. And by the way, it looks good against that blue sky. Car comes through the intersection, notices what the woman's wearing. I like that. Wonder where she got that. She's very aware of everything. When the man gets to the stoplight, must get lunch. That's it. Now, as Alison Armstrong points out, A woman's brain for 9 months before she's born soaks in estrogen, which is a hormone that connects segments of reality, whereas a man's brain soaks in testosterone, which is a hormone. One of the things it does is segments reality. A woman has the ability to put the pieces all together. See? So that's a tough problem. What's the solution? The solution is very simple. We've already talked about it. We're going to revisit it a couple times. The solution is the same solution that Michelangelo gave when he was asked, how did you make something so beautiful as David? And the solution that Michelangelo gave was, I simply ignored or let go of or chiseled away all that wasn't David. Or in other words, water the flowers, not the weeds. You know this, don't you? All of you. Right, so your man's been looking for a job for a while, maybe a couple months or something. You come home one night, he's on the couch, asleep. Monday night football's on. Newspapers all over the ground. What do? You gonna water the flowers or the weeds? You wake him up. Honey, what are you thinking? We are starving to death. And you're watching football? And so he thinks to himself, yeah, she's right. I'm an idiot. Right. Now let's rewind that tape. You come home, he's on the couch, Monday Night Football's on. But what you didn't notice is that the papers were filled with help wanted ads, and he'd been circling some. What are you going to do? Honey, this is unbelievable. You've been looking for a job. I'm going to go tell some of my friends, hold on. Oh, yeah, he is Superman. Yeah, he's out just knocking it out of the park, looking for a job all day long, all night long. I'm looking at the evidence right here. And you're sharing it, and you're telling him he stands up like this. Yes. And there's a cape, and you can see a little wind going through it. A little curl right there on it. I have come through, haven't I? So, it's really simple. You're going to either water the flowers or you're going to water the needs. The needs too. Water the weeds. So maybe you complain your husband's just a little, maybe not as affectionate as you'd like, right? Okay. So you're both up late at night, 11 o'clock at night, looking for something to eat. It's been months of a little chilliness between you, right? Not much, affection. But on your way to the refrigerator and on his way back from the refrigerator, you kind of brush up against him a little bit. Your arms touch. And you say, oh, I liked that. It's simple. You just water the flowers. Now I don't care what the flowers are that you're watering. Anything that's even close, just water that flower, okay? So this isn't really hard to understand, but it is hard to do because what's our instinct? What's your instinct? Water the weeds. Now men do it too. I'm not saying they don't. We do it. But this is the way to a man's heart, specifically and particularly to a man's heart, to water those flowers. Speak to the possibility, not the disappointment. Remember those words. Write those words down. Every exchange between you is you speaking to the possibility. Honey, I would love it if you could get out and do just a little bit more of that weeding. It's looking so good. Thank you so much. Instead of, honey, all I see out there is a mess. So speak to what's possible, not to what you're disappointed in. The possibility, not the disappointment. Marion, the librarian. Talk about Music Man, yeah. Who's seen Music Man? Okay. So Harold Higgins was a real shady character. Part of him, the weeds. But Marianne, the librarian, she saw past that, didn't she? And toward the end of the movie, as the police were coming to arrest him, she was able to tell him the truth. Isn't that what you've got in your possession? The truth about him. A truth that he doesn't even know sometimes, but that you can tell him. And she did. I love those words. There are bells on the hill, but I never heard them ringing until there was you. I'm going to ask you something. Isn't that true? Until there was you. That's what you see, the truth of that person, and especially for a man. Look at Professor Higgins' face. They're in shock that somebody's watering the flowers. That's the same face that I'd like to see on each of your husbands. Now, the way to a woman's heart. So a woman has so much to give, so little time. She ministers to a very large kingdom, not just to the home, but the neighbors, people in your church, friends. I had the sweetest little girl, I think she is right there, the girl that I was looking for the men's room, and was it you that said to me, "Oh, there's such a light in your eyes." This cute little, I don't know this girl, but she just said that. It was so cute. She was ministering. That's the way you are. You just minister to everyone, touch their life like little angels, right? But like John Gray says, you're carrying the weight of the world in a lot of ways. You're working oftentimes for money, physically. You're working in your home with your kids. You're working to make sure the neighbors are okay, people in your church and so forth. And the way to a woman's heart is to lighten that load. And the way to lighten that load, strangely enough, is much easier than we think. Now, a lot of you know this. I'm probably preaching to the choir on a lot of this stuff. But the way to a woman's heart in lightening her load is simply to be with her. Not to fix the problem like we talked about before. Not to be programmed. Not to just go right for the tools and, but to just be with her. Now, you've all seen this next little video, but I never get sick of it, and it's just a super great explanation. A woman doesn't want to be solved. She wants to be known. It's not about the problem. It's about her experience with the problem, like we talked about.
It's just, there's all this pressure, And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
No, see, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See,
out.
you're not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just... Sometimes it's like there's this achy... I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. All of them.
That sounds really hard.
Thank you.
Ow! Oh, come on. If you would just
Don't.
So you fix dishwashers, not feelings. Remember, as you can see in the picture on the right, she actually doesn't seem like it in that picture, but she needs to be totally immersed in that problem for a little while, just to have it wash through in her. And somehow that experience, especially as she talks about it, heals it and solves it. And in that sense, being with her then is the rescue. What's interesting is that 90% of the time after that, you really don't have a job anyway, because she's usually got it figured out. What she needs to do is just talk it out. And that's where you can really come through for a woman. So let's talk about temporal support. So she ministers, as I mentioned, to a large castle, a lot larger than it appears. But when she, as I mentioned, becomes a little overwhelmed or stressed, particularly with a woman, she is lower in estrogen. And that lowering of her estrogen produces a hyper focus on the list of things that she needs to get done. But when a man is stressed, he doesn't care what gets done. He just wants to rest in between his battles. And this creates what's called a work-rest paradox. Because the man, the way that he recovers from stress is to do nothing. But the way a woman recovers from stress is to do everything. And she has a huge list of things to do for you, and she's not really happy about it. So the solution to this is really obvious if you haven't figured it out, and it's called the yellow pad. Your unwavering support. And what's interesting about this is that, of course, you're going to need to sit down for a little bit when you come home from work sometimes, man. Or you women, you come home from work. But especially when you talk about the way to a woman's heart, you don't want to make that too long of a time. Come with your yellow pad, or in other words, with your honey, what can I do? Interesting research shows that a woman would rather see a man vacuuming than she would to see him naked. So that guy was very thankful for that. You're welcome, my friend. Now, another way to a woman's heart is really unique, and that is apology. So the lost princess that I mentioned feels abandoned. But Superman, because we're so riveted on our success and our pride and our ego at times, that part of us, we all have different parts, we are sometimes just a little buried in our fear of failure. So the idea of apologizing is tough for us. Now, statistically speaking, raise your hand if you think women apologize more than men. If you think men apologize more than women. Okay, so pretty good spread. Actually, it turns out that women apologize more than men. Now, the reason men are hesitant to apologize is two things. One is they don't get it. They don't get how you could possibly be offended or hurt by something. What's the problem, right? Now, the second reason is even worse. They don't want to get it. Because if they admit that they've done something that offended you, then it also is a confession that they have failed in their prime directive, which was to make you happy. And they really ought to be taken out back and shot. So who would want to admit to their imminent death? Who would want to come and apologize only to know that it would mean that they would stop living, right? So I want you to know that when a man finally makes his way to an apology, he has come through the valley of death to get there. Now that's a big thing. That's a big thing for a woman because she knows that. She knows what I just told you, you already know. Oh my goodness, here he comes. He's going to apologize. This is unbelievable. He must love me because he's coming through the valley of death. And he is. Isn't that wonderful? But when you apologize, man, it needs to look like this. It can't look like this. You can't be trying to cheer up. Oh, it's okay. It's all right. You're going to be fine. It's got to look like that, okay? You might want to take a picture of that. That's your future. Right? All right. Don't blame me. I just told the dog, give me a good apology. And that's what he did. It was an incredible picture I took there. So, now let's take a look at the way to a woman's heart. Bottom line. So, I will be here. That's the bottom line. Do you remember what was the bottom of the woman's list when we began? The two words. Not enough, not important. Man's two words, not enough. But abandonment. So, I will be here. You radiate that feeling to a woman. In the movie 10,000 BC, the heroine was kidnapped. In the whole almost 2 hours, we see this rescue mission from this husband trying to find her. Not knowing where to go, going from one possibility to the next. Finally, toward the end of the movie, they discover where she's being held hostage. She comes out, they break her out, she sends some men in, and there you see her running from the camp. What you don't see is somebody behind her. And in the movie, if you haven't seen it, somebody takes an arrow and shoots her, hits her in the back. Now she lives, so I don't want to ruin it for you. But they're on the ground. Her man reaches his hand under her head and holds it up a little bit. And she says, "You came for me. You came for me. When your princess is lost, you go find her. Come through for her." This is the image. That image. This is the biggest way you can ever come through. When she is lost, go and find her. I love it when my lost princess is lost sometimes. Not that I'm proud of being naughty. But she's so cute when she's lost princess. And I'm fast. I don't let her get to that nasty witch thing. I go find her. And sometimes she doesn't want to be found at all. But she loves the fact that I'm looking for her.
Tomorrow morning if you wake up and the sun does not appear, I will be here. If in the dark we lose sight of the love, hold my hand and have no fear, 'cause I will be here. I will be here when you feel like being quiet, when you need to speak your mind. I will listen, and I will be here when the laughter turns to to crying, through the winning, losing, and trying, we'll be together. 'Cause I will be here. Tomorrow morning, if you wake up and the future is unclear, I will be here. As sure as seasons are made for change, our lifetimes are made for years. So I will be here. I will be here. You can cry on my shoulder when the mirror tells us we're older. I will hold you, and I will be here to watch you grow in beauty, tell you all the things you are to me. I will be here.
And when you are lost, you men, you let her know. You will never leave her. Number one way to a woman's heart. To be able to say to her, I will never leave you. Well, she's about security. She's about a home. She's about certainty, predictability. Now, you may have to fly off to the North Pole once in a while as Superman and recharge and get over your wounded pride. That's okay. But on your way out, you say, I will never leave you. I'll always come back. And when you're lost, I will always find you.
Once the little girl in you sat alone and cried, looked into the sky above and wondered when her prince would come. Someone who would lift her, tell her she was beautiful. Now the days have come and gone, and all that could have has gone wrong, and you have left this dream behind. You have kissed your prince goodnight. Look at me with open eyes. I'm the one you dreamed of. I am your prince. I am the one you saw up in the sky above, and I can reach through the years by loving you as you are. Once the little girl in you had a childhood dream come true, and found her way to someone's heart who loved her as she was. I am your prince, I am the one you saw up in the sky above, and I can reach through the tears by loving you as you are.
Thank you. Okay, we just got a little more left. Part 4, issues management. A man tends to put off marriage at first, like he would a prison sentence, but later says to himself, "What was I thinking? This is wonderful." A woman tends to push for marriage, then later also says, "What was I thinking?" Now it's time to solve this right now. A man's job is to make his wife happy, or at least try his very best. But in part, a woman's job is to make a man's job easier. Or in other words, to choose to be made happy. Now, if both are doing 100%, if even one's doing 100% of those two 100%, you're on your way. Because one leads to the other. If you're choosing to be made happy, he's going to be so encouraged. Oh, you're happy? I'm going to do something else. But if you're not happy, well, that didn't make her happy, I'm not going to do anything. So either way works, okay? But what about a man's defensiveness? That man is really clear in his message. I didn't do anything. I want you to see what's at the bottom of this, and it's called reverence. A woman is made of pure emotions. This, the sometimes missing part of a man, is what makes her so magical and wonderful to us men. Is that right, men? They're magical. Ladies, do not underestimate how much we reverence you and how much we need your love. But that's the problem. That's the problem. We need your love so bad that we don't manage your feelings of disappointment very well because we need your love so bad. And because we don't manage it, we check out. And then you check out. And we wonder what happened. Look at me, so innocent there. Where did my queen go? I was just being defensive. I thought that's... Let's take a look at this. If you're trying to give your husband your story, your upset, your disappointment, he doesn't even hear the content of what you're saying. He only hears the story, the upset, the disappointment. That's all he hears. Bad dog. You know those cartoons, blah, 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 then bad dog, then blah, 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 bad dog. That's it. If you're coming to him with your upset, it doesn't matter what you're talking to him about, whether it's the garbage disposal or something else, all he hears is bad dog. So if you say, Tim, I'm so tired of you coming home late, why do you do this? Tim isn't going to work on modifying his schedule. He's going to work on managing your disappointment. Number 2, when you attempt to correct his performance with negative input, you only reinforce the very behavior you're wanting to eliminate. So if you say to your husband, it's always about you, or you're always interrupting me, or you don't seem to be thinking about anyone but yourself, he comes away from our conversation not with a resolve to do better, but rather with the conclusions you just put into his head. It's always about me. I'm always interrupting people. I don't think of anyone but myself first. Now, to you, ladies' defense, I understand where you're coming from, okay? What a woman means to send is I will keep telling you my feelings in hopes that you will understand and then change. That's fair enough. But what a man hears is The beatings will continue until the morale improves. It's kryptonite. You come with that complaint, and he's, because he starts off in life, oh, we got married, I'm going to make her happy, she's going to be so easy to make happy, she loves everything about me, everything I do. Then there's the complaint. And it's in the movies, and they take that stuff out of the lead box, remember? And it's, no, I didn't do it. But you did do it. No. And there he is dead on the ground. The neighbor comes by just at that very moment with a loaf of bread or something, and she says, what happened to your husband? He said, I don't know. I was just telling him my feelings. See, they're not your feelings to your man. They're a Scud missile. Men, we seem like strong warriors, but any complaint is dangerous for us. Look at these two guys here. The woman's on the left there. Now, one of those puppies is her ex-husband, one of them is her current husband. They put out a pretty good fight. That's how we feel. That's how we feel. A woman's point of view. I'm trying to heal our relationship by helping you see how bad you've been. I'm trying to kill you. It's such a downward spiral. Your unhappiness makes us feel like failures. And then your feelings of abandonment makes us feel even more like a failure. So it's a tough situation. All right, let's talk about it. The resolve from a woman's side. Now, the resolve from a woman's side and then from a man's side. Okay? We're going to solve this tonight. Now, for a woman's side, there it is. Now, like Dr. John Nunn says, your feelings of upset don't go to your husband's ears. That's not where they belong. He wasn't designed for that kind of wrath. Where do they go? To your Heavenly Father's ears. He loves that kind of stuff. He's got tons of time, infinite, right? So you talk to God about it. You go into the forest. You go out into the garden. You go wherever you want, just not your husband. What do you take to your husband? After you've worked it all out with God, or in your journal, or in your garden, or whatever, you work all that angst out. Then you go with this gleaming jewel. We already talked about it. We're going to revisit it in a different context now. You're going to come with a specific request. And he's going to love it. Because like Garrison Keillor said, happiness is specific, misery is journal. They just want a way back to your heart. Show me the way back to your heart. Did you know that when a man is coming home from work, when he gets within 2 miles of his home, his blood pressure is racing? You know why? Because he comes from a world of specific, quantifiable actions to what? He doesn't know. Well, I just want you to be more aware of what? When? Now, we're going to try this right now. I see a really cute couple on the front row. We're going to have you. Would you volunteer to come up here just for a second?
Me or both of us?
Yeah, you too. Yeah. Okay. We're going to have, what is your name?
Teresa.
Teresa. We're going to have Teresa practice this ancient art. It's a lost art. And the art is, you're going to take something that maybe is a little bit of a complaint that you're thinking of right now. Think of a little complaint. Maybe just a little one, though, not big. That's for our individual coaching sessions I'll tell you about later. But just a little, okay, got one? Okay. Now you're going to magically convert that into a specific request. And you know what it's going to be like for him? Oxygen. I can live. Because if you give him just a generality, you might as well be strapping fireworks to his head and then standing back and laughing as it all goes off, right? So he lives for a specific, he lives for it. Okay. What's your request? Hold on, I'm gonna get the mic. This is it. Teresa's gonna make history.
Dear, do you think you could please take the garbage cans out to the road on Tuesday evening so that they're ready to be picked up by Wednesday morning when the
That
garbage
is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Like that. Yeah.
I'm empowered.
Are you a new man?
Oh, yes. And
Yeah.
believe me.
Okay, thank you. Let's hear it for those guys. That was incredible. Was that like music? It was like music. What's the, yeah. But if they give the story, you know, honey, the trash cans are out there again. Now, where are you? Sitting over there. Am I important? No. That's the proof. Trash cans are, I'm nothing. See, now we're dead, right? But if you come to the magical map to your heart, look at that map. Just show me the map. Will you take the garbage out on Tuesday night? He will serve you the rest of your life. And remember, it's not a task. You got to get this to mission status. It's got to be a rescue. For instance, to a man, a sock laying on the ground isn't part of his mission, so he doesn't deal with it. To a woman, that sock is screaming at her, your life is quickly becoming unmanageable. Let him know this isn't a task, it's a map to where I am being held prisoner. If you want to rescue me, honey, do you think you'd be willing? You see the socks there? Yeah, I see them. Oh, if you could pick those up and put them over there. Where is that again, honey? Over there. It's a little cylinder thing that you... All right, I'll do it. It's got to be mission status, okay? The resolve from a man's side. If a woman is upset, hold her and tell her how beautiful she is. If she starts to growl, retreat to a safe distance. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That was just because I put that in there because some groups are very boring. And by the time we get to this point in the seminar, I've got to come up with something. So, in truth, nothing restores a woman back to her real self faster than listening to understand. You know, so I was thinking about that one day in church, and I actually drew that picture because I noticed that my wife turns into this cutest little angel when I'm listening to understand her, which is not my nature at all. I know whenever I come to these things, I think, these guys are going to listen to me and think, boy, his wife's really lucky. He's got all this down. No. I'm with you guys. I'm struggling to get this too. But one of the things I have enjoyed by the grace of God a multitude of times is this wonderful angelic moment where I'm listening, tell me more about that. Tell me more about what's going on. And they just shine and light up, and it's the sweetest thing. That is the way to a woman's heart when it comes to issues management. Listen if you can. Now, another wonderful way to a woman's heart is to love her for her, not for you. She doesn't want to be the one to give you a report card on your self-worth. She doesn't want to be the one that because you came through for her, you can feel better about yourself. When you come through for your wife, try to think for a second of just her. Pray for her, serve her, be there for her. Now finally, in the way to a woman's heart when it comes to issues management, it's a little known secret. You know, the four blind men asked to examine the elephant. One said, well, it's a wall. Remember the story. Another one grabbed his leg and said, it's a tree trunk. The other one grabbed his what do you call that? Trunk. Was that, what is the nose? What is that? Yeah, trunk. And said, well, it's a snake, right? And the other one, his tail, and said it's a rope. Different perceptions. They were all real. They were all true, right? They're all what they were feeling at that moment. Now, let's take that to your wife. A woman may sometimes be focused on just the tail, just something that maybe has gone amiss, gone wrong. But she loves the whole elephant. She may be frustrated with how you are showing up, men, but always remember, she loves her life with you. Remember that. Now, isn't this ironic? See, this is the way to a woman's heart, is to remember how much she loves her life with you. Because when she knows that you know how much she loves you, then she is never afraid. Then she knows you will always be there for her and always be here with her. This can only happen through God. Brothers, sometimes only God can reveal it to you. Does my wife love me? And you wait for the answer. Now there's one last part to our whole night's presentation. Part 5 is the adoption factor. Now, it's an interesting thing that when we get married, we really don't get married to love someone. We marry to be loved by someone. I know that's very anti-romantic, isn't it? But it's sort of our ancient, instinctive process to find love, to feel safe ourselves. We play different parts in that marital dance, in that courtship, but the bottom line is there's a part of us that's a very human part, not the godly part, that marries to be loved. And that can be really conflict-laden. In other words, these are big, heavy expectations that lend to disappointment. I thought you were going to love me. Oh no, I thought you were going to love me. So in our fear of future disappointment, we tend to close our hearts. We sabotage our possibility of love as couples and singles. For in our mind, it's better to have never fully loved than to have fully loved and then been let down. What's the solution? You. You're the solution. My friend, I'll call her Susan tonight because I want to keep this anonymous. Susan was planning on leaving her husband. She wasn't happy. She didn't feel loved. She didn't feel like her needs were being met. It was killing her. Years of this. She didn't know what else to do but to leave him. It seemed a self-evident course. I'm not loved. I need love. I will go and find love. Then one day, by the grace of God, it hit her spontaneously like the Red Sea parting, and two questions occurred to her, one after the other, as if it was from heaven itself. And these were the questions that occurred to her. I wonder if he feels loved. And then the next question. What would happen if I gave to him everything I wanted from him? And everything changed. And after 20 years of her wanting to leave him, they have now been married an additional 10 years, very happy. Because of that one moment that either one of them could have had, but Susan had it. So, you be the solution. Don't protect. Don't protect. Against being let down. Serve. Don't hide. Risk. Don't hold back love. Love. Man in the Twin Towers, just after being hit, calling his wife on the phone. You know where I am. I'm not going to be coming home tonight. But then he said to her, I want you to know, you have made my life. He loved her right to the very last minute. He was never going to be in the shadows of disappointment because perhaps she hadn't loved him the way he wanted to be loved. But he was stepping forward. He was the solution. And how do you get to this point? One hand in God's and the other to your spouse. You can't do it of your own accord, men or women. Only through God. Only as you take your Heavenly Father's hand will you have what it takes to then reach over to your spouse and lift her up and love her and let her feel that love from Heavenly Father.
Here's a little song to help you get along. It'll see you through when you're feeling blue. No, it's not profound when you're feeling down, so down. Sing this little tune and you'll feel better soon. You're not alone, even though right now you're on your own. You are loved in ways that can't be shown. Your needs are known. You're not alone. And when you cry, just letting go a heartache deep inside. So tomorrow there'll be sunshine and sky and love close by. You're not alone. I know that it's not easy, but I know that it won't last. 'Cause one who loves you more than me is sending blessings fast. You're not alone. Say it one more time, I'm not alone. Even when it's hard to say the words, you're always heard. You're not alone. You're not alone. Say it one more time, I'm not alone. Even when it's hard to find the words, your prayers are heard.